We have an interesting teachings today. It's always interesting. A little different, maybe. It is the second half of letter 19. Letters. Letters are the force of God's creation. How are they in us? So letters, we have them in mind and in speech. Mind meaning in thought, and the spoken word. Letters reflect the divine energy. So the way we visualize them, like from a Torah scroll, for example, the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, which actually the Alter Rebbe says 22 letters of all languages are the same in the fact of their enunciation, their respective combinations, and so on. 22 of them. So in the thought, we have a shape. The very shape of a letter, that it's different one from another, and it can be a very small distinction. Sorry, I just thought of it, so I don't have the example here in front of me. But for those who are familiar with a dalet and a resh, a dalet has a little part, this part over here. And the resh, no, it doesn't have extending on to the right side an extension. And there could be, and they're very similar, but they're worlds apart. Why? Not just in the pronunciation, that's in speech, but just in the shape of the letters, even though they are so close, but they're so distant because each letter is a flow of divine energy, a flow of divine light. And therefore, how important it is that you write the letters so appropriately, because otherwise, if you put a resh instead of a dalet, or a dalet instead of a resh, for example, or any other letter, you are bringing a different divine energy into the world. And if it's not the right letter, the inappropriate one. The inappropriate one. Now that's the shape of letters. But then there is also the speech of letters. No, the breath and the voice. They're divided into, as we said, 22 parts. Each one also differing, right? How the hey, which is more breath than it is the 5 elements of speech, which is the lips, the teeth, the tongue, the palate, and the larynx, that make up the 22 different kinds of sounds that are actually not just in Hebrew, but in all languages. In all languages. So no matter what language you think in or speak in. Now, when it comes to the written word, all right, so the speech is all is the same, but the written word, interestingly, there's 3 different ways that you can think of something. You can think of something because you have the book in front of you, like I have right now. So I'm looking now in thought. There are 3 kinds of letters, right? So in my thought, there's 3 types. One is the reading of a letter, right, or a word, right, the reading of it. But then in thought, you can also have how you hear it. You're hearing from me, you're not reading it. So you have letters of communication that are formed into words, into sentences, into paragraphs, to give an understanding, that are through hearing it from another. And then you have that you don't see it from a book, you don't hear it from another, what you're thinking, but it's what you're thinking on your own. These are 3 dimensions of 3 different worlds, actually. Even though it might be the same thought. But since the source is different. So the lowest level I don't know the logos is right, but what reflects the world of thought in the world is from the world of asiya, the world of action, means an active thought that comes from a written word, because the written word is an action that it was written. Then you have the word that you think, right? That is not based on the world of action, but it's the world of yitzira, the world of emotion. And that's the word that you hear from someone else. So again, it could be the same words, but when it's read, as opposed is from the world of action, asiya. If it's heard, those same words, then it's a world from emotion. And even though you're thinking the same words, you're thinking the same, you have the same language in your head that you're thinking. And then finally, from the world of Bria, a higher world, is your own thinking of letters, words, that are not caused from anything outside of you, but you thinking them yourself. The same word could be. Each one shows on how the light of God, within you it's more, when it comes just from you, the world of Bria, it's more ethereal, because there's nothing that caused it except for you, right? Like when you think something over in your head, and therefore it's on a more abstract, sublime world, Bria. But when you hear it from another, the same thing, it's coming down. Coming down means here that light is coming down to even a less abstract world, because it's hearing from another. And then when you see it with your own eyes, the word that now is in your head, in your thoughts, then it comes down even further into the world of action. Now the Alter Rebbe says, sometimes we speak. So normally, we'll only speak that which we think, because the cause of our speech is that which we think, right? But sometimes it can happen, you can think one thing and say another. So Alter Rebbe says the only reason you can do that is because what you have said, you have thought before, and possibly repeatedly, and therefore you could think one thing and say another. Because the thought process that causes the speech was already embedded in your mind, in your thoughts, and therefore it's possible to actually think one thing and say another as a result. That's the basic teachings over here. It's very short. What is the point of this? I'll be honest, I'm not so clear. I guess it gives us a deeper understanding of how thought works, how it affects speech, how it, and through that we know ourselves better. But I guess the overriding importance of this is that just as in God uses letters and words to create, our letters in thought, and all the more so in speech, have a power. So when we understand the process and where it comes from, and it has a light, though it has a light of divine energy, and of course for divine words, for good things, then that's a powerful thing to be aware of. Words matter. Words are powerful. Even our thoughts are also powerful. And having that awareness, of course, will lead us to have the appropriate thoughts and words that will make the right impact, bring the divine light that is embedded in them to create good stuff. And with a new year, that's amazing. That's it, folks. Short. I want to wish everybody today is Tzom Gedalia, which is a fast day a half-day fast, not like Yom Kippur. And so some of you are fasting, maybe a easy and a meaningful fast. And most importantly, that our prayers should be heard on high to bring the final redemption. Enough already of a pandemic. Enough already. This year is Pei Aleph, Peloi Sarenu. 5781 is a year of wonderment. A wonderment that we should be able to see and perceive the good in it. Was this past year wonderful? Wonderment? Oh, Tafshin Pei. It was, Pei stands for Pelois, which means wonderment. This past year was a wonderment, but wasn't a wonderment that you could perceive with your eyes the good in it so readily. But this year, Pei Aleph is the letters of this year, 5781. So, yes, Pelois, there's going to be great wonderment. But it's going to be Arenu, that God's going to show us that it's going to be the Teva Nirva Nigla, that we're going to see the good. We're going to be able to perceive with our own eyes, readily, easily, and ultimately, with Mashiach now. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zurich and Kadesh in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Have a wonderful day, and we should all be a wonderful, sweet year. Gemar Chasima Teva, good gebench to your. Be well.